The binding dress feels like a cage. Mira's fingers shake as she adjusts the silver clasps for the third time. Tonight, everything changes. After that, she'll finally belong somewhere, to someone who chose her. The mirror shows a woman desperate to be perfect, because perfect might be enough. Maybe it was fate that brought Marcus into her life when she had nothing. Deep down, she knew the truth. She'd been waiting her whole life for someone to see her worth. "You look beautiful," her friend Kira whispers from the doorway, but her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Mira forces brightness into her voice. "I can barely believe it's happening." Even so, something cold settles in her chest. The way Marcus looked at her this morning, distant, distracted. She pushes the thought away because tonight is supposed to be perfect. What followed was hours of preparation, each ritual meant to prepare her for the binding that would make her his mate. The pack house buzzes with energy below. Voices drift up through the floorboards. Laughter, celebration, the kind of joy she's always watched from the outside. But then footsteps echo in the hallway. Heavy. Familiar. Marcus. Her heart skips because he's early, and early means eager. Doesn't it? The door opens without a knock. Marcus. His name escapes like a prayer. He doesn't smile. Instead, his eyes sweep over her with something that looks almost like regret. "We need to talk." The dress suddenly feels too tight. "Can't it wait? The ceremony—" "There won't be a ceremony." Time stands still. The words don't make sense, like a language she's never learned. "What do you mean?" Marcus closes the door behind him with deliberate care. His face is stone, cold, decided. "I can't do this, Mira. I won't." Her world tilts. "I don't understand. Everything's ready. The pack is waiting. I have never loved you." The words hit like a physical blow. Her breath catches, sharp and painful. "What?" "I chose you because the pack expected it, because you were convenient." His voice is clinical, precise. "But I can't pretend anymore." The room spins. "Marcus, please. There's someone else. There's always been someone else." As the silence stretched, she realizes this isn't sudden. This has been building while she planned their future, while she dreamed of belonging. Her chest aches with the weight of her stupidity. "Who?" The question barely makes it past her lips. "Elena." He says the name like it's sacred. "We're true mates. I was trying to honor my duty to the pack, but I was never enough." The words taste bitter. "No." He doesn't soften it. "You weren't." Moments later, after he leaves, Mira stares at her reflection. The binding dress mocks her now. All that hope turned to ash. Her wolf whimpers, wounded and confused. She strips off the silver clasps one by one, each one hitting the floor like a small death. The pack house below grows quiet. Soon, they'll all know. Soon, the whispers will start. Poor Mira, rejected on her binding night. Truth be told, maybe she saw this coming. Maybe that's why her hands shook with more than nerves. As if pulled by a string, she moves toward the window. The forest calls to her wounded soul. She needs to run, needs to disappear before the pity starts. Without warning, shame floods through her, but not for being rejected, for believing she could be chosen at all. The pack house feels like a tomb. Mira presses her back against her bedroom door, listening to the murmur of confused voices below. Questions float up through the floorboards. Where's the ceremony? Is everything all right? The concern in their voices cuts deeper than Marcus's cruelty because it means they expected this to work. They believed in her happiness more than she did. Her phone buzzes. Elena's name lights up the screen. "So sorry this happened. I never wanted to hurt you." The message burns. Her body moves on instinct, hurling the phone against the wall where it shatters into useless pieces. That's when the tears come. Hot, angry, devastating. What's worse than being rejected? being pitied by the woman who stole your life. Footsteps approach her door. Mira? Kira's voice, gentle and worried. Honey, what happened? She can't answer. Can't explain that she's been living a lie for months, that every kiss was duty, every touch was obligation. Her wolf presses forward, agitated and hurt, demanding they run far from this humiliation. I'm fine, she calls out, but her voice cracks on the lie. Marcus left, without explanation. The pack is confused. Tell them the truth. Bitterness leaks into her words. Tell them he came to his senses. Silence stretches between them, heavy with unspoken understanding. Eventually, Kira's footsteps retreat. As the wind shifted outside her window, Mira realizes she's completely alone. Not just in this room, in the world. No mate, no future, no place where she belongs. Despite that, something fierce stirs in her chest. Anger, maybe, or wounded pride. She won't give them a spectacle, won't let them see her break. In the span of a breath, she makes her decision. The forest beyond her window promises sanctuary, dark trees and hidden paths where she can disappear, where no one will find her until she decides to be found. Or maybe never.
The Border Patrol report sits unread on Rowan's desk. Something restless claws at his chest tonight, his wolf pacing, agitated without cause. More importantly, he's been fighting the urge to shift and run for hours, which never happens during pack business. The Alpha King doesn't get distracted, doesn't lose focus, but tonight feels different. Your Majesty? His beta, Connor, hesitates in the doorway. The monthly territorial assessment? Later. Rowan's voice comes out rougher than intended. Something's wrong. Connor frowns. Wrong how? That's the question. Rowan can't explain the pull in his chest, the way his wolf keeps trying to surge forward. It reminds him of hunting, of being called to something essential. As if fate demanded it, a howl pierces the night air. Both men freeze. The sound is raw, broken, full of pain that resonates in Rowan's bones. His wolf responds immediately, pushing against his skin with urgent need. That's not one of ours, Connor says. No. Rowan's already moving toward the window. It's not. The howl comes again, closer to the border this time. Female, young, devastated, in a way that makes his wolf whimper in response. Without thinking, he's already reaching for his jacket. Sir, protocol says. Protocol can wait. Something inside her shifted, he realizes. Not his wolf. Something deeper. Like recognition without memory. Like coming home to a place he's never been. Gather a small patrol, he orders. But he knows he'll reach her first. Has to reach her first, because every instinct screams that she's important, that she's his. The thought stops him cold. His mate died 3 years ago. The bond was severed, broken beyond repair. There can't be another. The moon goddess doesn't grant second chances to those who fail to protect what they're given. But his wolf doesn't care about logic. As the mark tingled on his shoulder, the scar where his first mate's mark used to be, Rowan knows he's about to discover something that will change everything. Yet another howl echoes through the night, and this time it sounds like a name he's never heard but somehow knows. As though fate whispered the truth directly to his soul, he realizes he's been waiting for this moment his entire life.
The forest floor cuts into her bare feet, but she doesn't stop running. Branches tear at her skin, her hastily thrown on clothes. Nothing matters except distance, putting space between herself and the humiliation waiting back at the pack house. Her wolf drives her forward, wild with hurt and confusion. Deep down, she knew the truth. She was never meant for happiness like other people. But then her foot catches a root. The ground rushes up to meet her, and she hits hard enough to taste blood. As the echo faded from her cry of pain, the forest goes silent around her. Even the insects stop their chirping, as if the very trees are holding their breath. That's when she smells it. Pine. Mountain air. Something wild and untamed that makes her wolf suddenly alert in a way she's never felt before. The scent wraps around her like a promise, like safety, like everything Marcus never was. No matter how hard she tried to rationalize it, her body responds before her mind catches up. Pulse quickening, skin warming, every nerve suddenly alive. "Are you hurt?" The voice comes from the darkness between the trees. Deep, controlled, with an undercurrent of barely leashed power that makes her shiver. Not with fear, with recognition. Slowly, she pushes herself to sitting. A figure steps into the moonlight, and her breath catches. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and eyes that seem to glow in the dim light. Handsome in a way that's almost cruel. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, lips that look like they rarely smile. But it's his scent that destroys her. Overwhelming. Perfect. Home. "I asked if you were hurt." His voice is gentler now, concerned. "I'm fine." The lie sounds ridiculous given her state. Scraped knees, torn clothes, tears she hasn't finished crying. He steps closer, and that's when the world tilts sideways. Because she knows him. Not his face, not his name, but something deeper. Something that makes her wolf stretch toward him like a flower seeking sunlight. The space between them burns with possibility. "What's your name?" he asks. "Mira." Her voice trembles. "Mira Thornfield." Something flickers in his eyes. Surprise, recognition, maybe hunger. "I'm Rowan." Just Rowan. No title, no pack affiliation. But power radiates from him like heat from a fire. He's dangerous, she realizes. Dangerous and beautiful and looking at her like she's the most important thing in his world. Which is impossible. Because 3 hours ago, she learned exactly how unimportant she really is. "You're on my territory," he says, but there's no threat in it. "How did you get here?" "I was running." The simple truth. "I needed to get away." From what? As fire bloomed beneath her skin at his gentle tone, she realizes she wants to tell him everything. Wants to pour out her humiliation and hurt to this stranger who smells like salvation. Instead, she says, "It doesn't matter now." Between them, something cracked, like ice giving way to spring. The tension broke when he extends his hand to help her up, and the moment their skin touches, lightning shoots up her arm. He feels it too. She sees it in the way his eyes widen, the sharp intake of breath. The air thickens with something electric, inevitable. Her world shifted again, but this time toward something bright instead of broken. "Come on," he says, his voice rougher now. "Let's get you somewhere safe." As if the world narrowed to just this moment, this man, this impossible feeling blooming in her chest, Mira takes his hand and lets him lead her toward whatever comes next. The stranger's hand burns against hers. Rowan leads her through the darkness with sure steps, like he owns every shadow in these woods. Maybe he does. The way power radiates from him suggests he's not just another pack member wandering the forest at midnight. Her wolf recognizes an alpha when she encounters one, and this man is more than that. What followed was the strangest walk of her life. Every step away from her old territory feels like shedding skin, like becoming someone new, someone who doesn't carry the weight of Marcus's rejection carved into her bones. "There's a cabin ahead," Rowan says, his voice cutting through her spiraling thoughts. "You can rest there." She should be afraid, should question why a stranger is helping her, what he wants in return. Instead, safety wraps around her like his scent. Pine and mountain storms, and something indefinably male that makes her pulse quicken. Despite that, reality crashes back the moment they reach the small stone cabin tucked between towering pines. This is insane. She's following a man she doesn't know to an isolated place because her wolf likes his smell, because touching him feels like coming home. Rowan seems to sense her hesitation. He stops at the doorway, releasing her hand. "I'm not going to hurt you." "I know." The certainty in her voice surprises them both. His eyes search her face in the moonlight. "Do you? Or is that just shock talking?" Truth be told, she doesn't know anything anymore. 6 hours ago, she thought she understood her life. Now she's standing in a stranger's territory, her world shattered, drawn to a man who looks at her like she matters. Maybe it's shock, she admits. But I trust you. Something flickers across his features. Surprise, maybe pleasure. You shouldn't trust so easily. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? The laugh that escapes her sounds broken. My mate already rejected me tonight. My pack probably thinks I've run away like a coward. I have nothing left to lose. Before she could move, he's stepping closer. His hand lifts toward her face, then stops just short of touching her cheek. I'm sorry that happened to you. The gentleness in his voice nearly undoes her. Don't be kind to me. I can't handle kind right now. What can you handle? The question hangs between them, loaded with possibility. Her skin feels too tight, like something essential is trying to break free. Without warning, she realizes this conversation isn't really about comfort or safety. It's about the electric current running between them, the way her body responds to his proximity like she's been asleep her whole life. I don't know, she whispers. Rowan's eyes darken. Neither do I. That's when she notices his hands are shaking slightly. Whatever this is, this pull, this recognition, he feels it too. The thought should terrify her. Instead, it feels like salvation. Tell me your last name, she says suddenly. A pause. Too long. Why? Because I need to know if you're going to destroy my life too. His smile is sharp, predatory. Blackthorne. Rowan Blackthorne. The name hits her like ice water. Blackthorne. She knows that name. Every wolf in the territory knows that name. Alpha King of the Northern Packs. The most powerful shifter in 5 states. Dangerous, untouchable, and staring at her like she's the answer to a question he's been asking his whole life. Her legs give out.
She faints. Rowan catches her before she hits the ground, and the moment she's in his arms, his world explodes. Her scent floods his senses, jasmine and rain, and something uniquely hers that makes his wolf surge forward with possessive hunger. Mine, the beast growls. Ours, impossible. Even so, every instinct screams recognition. The way she fits against his chest, the way her heartbeat syncs with his, the way her presence fills the empty spaces he didn't know existed until this moment. He carries her into the cabin, laying her on the small couch with hands that shake more than they should. This can't be happening. His mate died 3 years ago in a rival pack's attack. The bond was severed. He felt it break, felt part of his soul tear away. There can't be another. Yet here she is, Mira Thornfield, with her storm-gray eyes and wounded courage, making his dormant mark burn like fire. She stirs, eyelashes fluttering. Did I just faint at your feet? Technically, I caught you. A groan escapes her as she sits up. Perfect, just perfect. First I get rejected by my mate, then I swoon like some 19th century heroine in front of the Alpha King. You know who I am. Every wolf knows who you are. She runs her hands through her tangled hair. What I don't understand is why you're here, why you helped me. Because I was called to you. Because my wolf recognized yours before I even saw your face. Because you smell like home and I haven't had a home since Celeste died. You were in pain, he says instead. You needed help. Alpha Kings don't rescue random pack members having mental breakdowns in the forest. This Alpha King does. The words hang between them, heavier than they should be. She's watching him with those careful eyes like she's trying to solve a puzzle. Meanwhile, his wolf paces restlessly, demanding he claim what's his before she disappears. But she's not his. Can't be his. The moon goddess doesn't grant second chances, especially not to alphas who failed to protect their first mates. What happened tonight? He asks, needing the distraction. Who rejected you? Pain flickers across her face. Marcus Thorne, beta of the Crescent Moon Pack. Rowan knows Marcus, ambitious, calculating, more politician than protector. He's an idiot. He said I wasn't enough, that there was someone else, his true mate. Her voice cracks slightly. We were supposed to bind tonight. The whole pack was waiting. Fury rises in Rowan's chest, swift and violent. The idea of Marcus hurting her, rejecting her, treating her like she's disposable, it makes his wolf snarl with rage. His loss. Is it? She looks at him with raw vulnerability. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'm just not enough. Before either could speak, Rowan's moving. He kneels in front of the couch, eye level with her. Listen to me very carefully, Mira Thornfield. You are more than enough. He stops himself before he says too much. Before he tells her she's perfect and brave and calling to every protective instinct he has. Before he admits that in the space of an hour, she's become more important to him than his own safety. I'm what? She whispers. Everything. Mine. The other half of my soul I thought was lost forever. You're going to be fine, he says instead. Stronger than you know. She searches his face and he sees the moment she realizes he's holding something back. Smart girl. Too smart for her own good. There's something you're not telling me. Of course there is. How does he explain that touching her feels like resurrection? That her presence is healing wounds he thought were permanent? That if she is what he thinks she is, it changes everything? As the bond pulsed between them, faint but undeniable, Rowan makes a decision that will either save them both or destroy everything he's worked to build. Stay here tonight, he says. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next. She nods, but he can see questions burning in her eyes. Questions he's not ready to answer because the truth is too dangerous, too impossible. The truth is that Mira Thornfield might be his second chance at happiness, and he's terrified of what he'll become if he loses her too.
Sleep doesn't come. Mira lies on the unfamiliar couch, wrapped in a blanket that smells like Rowan, listening to him move around in the next room. Every sound he makes sends awareness skittering across her skin. The soft thud of boots hitting the floor. Water running in what must be a bathroom. The creak of a bed accepting his weight. More importantly, something has shifted inside her chest. A warmth that wasn't there before. Like a door opening after being locked her whole life. This is crazy. She knows this is crazy. 24 hours ago, she was preparing to bind herself to Marcus forever. Now she's hiding in the Alpha King's cabin because touching his hand felt like coming alive. What's worse, she doesn't want to leave. The rational part of her mind lists all the reasons this is insane. She doesn't know him. He's so far above her station, it's laughable. She's still raw from Marcus's rejection, not thinking clearly. This feeling, whatever it is, could just be her wounded ego latching onto the first man to show her kindness. But her wolf knows better. Her wolf has been restless and dissatisfied for months, and now she's settled. Content, like she's finally where she belongs. From there, her thoughts spiral into dangerous territory. What if Marcus was wrong? What if she wasn't unworthy, just with the wrong person? What if the reason his touch never felt right was because her body was waiting for someone else? Someone like Rowan who makes her pulse race with a single look. No matter how hard she tried to dismiss it, the memory of his hand in hers burns like a brand. The way he looked at her when she said his name, the careful control in his voice like he was holding himself back from something powerful. Maybe it was fate that brought her to his territory tonight. Maybe everything with Marcus happened for a reason, to lead her here, to this moment, to this impossible connection with a man who could never be hers. A soft knock interrupts her spiraling thoughts. Mira, are you awake? Yes. Her voice comes out rougher than intended. The door opens and Rowan steps into the moonlit room. He's changed into sleep pants and nothing else, and the sight of his bare chest makes her mouth go dry. Scars crisscross his skin, evidence of battles fought and won. This is what an Alpha King looks like, she realizes. Power and danger wrapped in muscle and controlled violence. Can't sleep either? He asks. Too much thinking. He settles into the chair across from her, careful to maintain distance. But even with space between them, the air practically hums with tension. Want to talk about it? She should say no. Should maintain whatever professional distance is appropriate between a random pack member and royalty. Instead, she finds herself saying, "Do you believe in fate?" His expression grows thoughtful. "Why do you ask?" "Because 6 hours ago, my life was completely different. I had plans, a future, someone I thought loved me. Now all of that's gone, and I'm here with you, feeling..." She trails off, not sure how to finish. Feeling what? Brave. Alive. Like I've been sleepwalking and just woke up. Like maybe everything happened for a reason, she says instead. Rowan leans forward, elbows on his knees. And what reason would that be? The question hangs between them, loaded with possibility. She could play it safe, could deflect and change the subject. Or she could be honest about the electricity crackling between them, the way her skin feels too tight when he's near. Before the words left her lips, she's choosing honesty. To bring me to you. The silence that follows is deafening. Rowan goes very still, like a predator deciding whether to pounce or retreat. When he finally speaks, his voice is rough with restraint. "Mira, I know it's crazy," she rushes on. "I know I barely know you, that you're the Alpha King and I'm nobody special. But the way you look at me, the way I feel when you're near, it's like nothing I've ever experienced." As the wind shifted outside, carrying the scent of coming rain, Rowan stands abruptly and walks to the window. His shoulders are tense, hands clenched at his sides. "You don't know what you're saying." "Yes, I do." She sits up, clutching the blanket to her chest. "Tell me you don't feel it too. Tell me I'm imagining the connection between us." He turns back to her, and the raw hunger in his eyes makes her breath catch. "You're not imagining it." Time stood still as the admission hangs between them. Then he's moving, crossing the room in 3 quick strides. He stops just out of reach, like he doesn't trust himself to get closer. "But it doesn't matter what I feel," he says, voice tight with control. "You just escaped one complicated situation. You don't need another." "What if I want another?" Her voice trembled with the boldness of it, but she doesn't take it back. Can't take it back, because looking at him is like looking at her future. Dangerous and beautiful and absolutely right. Rowan's control cracks. "Mira." The space between them burned with unspoken promise. Her heart skipped as she realizes they're balanced on the edge of something that will change everything. "What if I want you?" she whispers. As though fate whispered the answer directly to her soul, she knows he's about to give her exactly what she's asking for.
He kisses her. The decision happens faster than thought. One moment Rowan's fighting every instinct screaming at him to claim her. The next his hands are framing her face and his mouth is on hers. She tastes like salvation and sin, like everything he's been missing without knowing it. Mira melts against him with a soft sound that nearly destroys his control. Her hands fist in his hair, pulling him closer, and when her tongue touches his wolf roars with triumph. Mine. Finally. Always. But then reality crashes back like ice water. What followed was the hardest thing he's ever done, pulling away from her when every cell in his body demands he mark her, claim her, make her his forever. Her lips are swollen, her eyes dark with desire, and she looks at him like he hung the moon. "Rowan?" Her voice is breathless, confused. "This is wrong." The words taste like ash. "You're vulnerable, hurt. I'm taking advantage." "You're not." She reaches for him, but he steps back. "I wanted that. I wanted you." Despite that, he knows better. Knows that people make terrible decisions when they're in pain, and Mira Thornfield deserves better than being someone's rebound. Even if that someone is him. Even if touching her feels like coming back to life. "You just had your heart broken," he says, hating himself for the disappointment that flickers across her face. You need time to heal, not another complication. What if I don't want time? The challenge in her voice makes his pulse quicken. What if I know exactly what I want? Because she doesn't, can't. She doesn't know what he is, what claiming her would mean. She doesn't know about pack politics or the enemies who would use her against him. She doesn't know that being his mate could get her killed. More importantly, she doesn't know that he already lost one mate to his failures, and he won't survive losing another. Trust me, he says, even though it kills him. Time is what you need. Hurt flashes in her storm-gray eyes before she masks it. Of course, you're right. I'm sorry for... Don't apologize. The sharpness in his voice makes her flinch. Never apologize for knowing what you want. Silence stretches between them, heavy with unfinished business. Eventually, she pulls the blanket tighter around herself. I should go. Where? The question escapes before he can stop it. Back to your pack? Back to Marcus? I don't know. Her voice is small, lost. I can't go back there, not yet. Maybe not ever. As the mark tingled where his first mate's bite used to be, Rowan realizes he's about to make another decision that could destroy them both. But the thought of her wandering alone, broken and vulnerable, makes his wolf snarl with protective fury. Stay, he says. Not here. This is too isolated. But I have a house in Millbrook. Safe. Private. You can figure out your next move from there. She searches his face. Why would you do that for me? Because you're mine, and I protect what's mine. Because letting you go feels like tearing out my own heart. Because I'm falling for you so hard and fast it terrifies me. Because everyone deserves a safe place to land, he says instead. That's when she smiles, the first real smile he's seen from her. It transforms her face, makes her beautiful in a way that steals his breath. Thank you. He nods, not trusting his voice. Tomorrow he'll take her to Millbrook and pretend his world didn't just shift on its axis. He'll maintain professional distance and ignore the way she looks at him like he's her salvation. He'll pretend that walking away from her tonight isn't the biggest mistake of his life.
The house in Millbrook is a mansion. Mira stands in the marble foyer, overwhelmed by crystal chandeliers and artwork that probably costs more than most people make in a year. This isn't a safe house. This is a palace. And Rowan brought her here like it's nothing, like offering sanctuary to strange women is just another Tuesday for the Alpha King. The staff is discreet, he says, watching her reaction carefully. They won't ask questions or spread gossip. You're safe here. Safe. The word feels foreign after everything that's happened. How long can I stay? As long as you need. Next, a woman appears from what must be the kitchen. Middle-aged, kind-faced, with the sort of maternal energy that makes Mira's chest ache. She smells like cookies and comfort. This is Mrs. Chen, Rowan says. She manages the household. Mrs. Chen, this is Mira. She'll be staying with us for a while. Of course. Mrs. Chen's smile is warm, uncomplicated. Welcome, dear. Are you hungry? I have fresh soup on the stove. Mira's stomach chooses that moment to remind her she hasn't eaten since yesterday. That sounds wonderful. Thank you. Soon after, she's seated at a kitchen island larger than her entire apartment back at Crescent Moon, spooning homemade vegetable soup while Mrs. Chen bustles around preparing what appears to be enough food for an army. She always cooks too much, Rowan explains, settling onto the stool beside her. It's her way of showing care. The casual domesticity of the moment feels surreal. Yesterday, she was preparing to bind herself to Marcus forever. Now she's eating soup in the Alpha King's kitchen while he watches her with an intensity that makes her skin warm. This is incredible, she says, meaning the soup but also everything else. The house, the kindness, the way Rowan looks at her like she matters. Mrs. Chen is a treasure. He pauses, then adds quietly, I want you to be comfortable here, Mira. This isn't charity or pity. You deserve a place where you can breathe. That's when the emotions hit her all at once. Relief, gratitude, and something deeper that she's afraid to name. Her eyes well up before she can stop them. "Hey," Rowan's voice goes soft. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. That's the problem." She swipes at her tears, embarrassed. "I keep waiting for the catch, for you to tell me what you want in return." His expression darkens. "I don't want anything from you. Everyone wants something. Not everyone. Not from you." The conviction in his voice makes her chest tight. How is it possible that this man, powerful, dangerous, beautiful, sees value in her when her own mate couldn't? Before she could spiral deeper into self-doubt, Mrs. Chen places a plate of warm cookies in front of her. "Chocolate chip. My grandmother's recipe." "Thank you." Mira takes a bite and nearly groans with pleasure. "These are amazing." "She thinks food fixes everything," Rowan says, but there's fondness in his voice. "Food helps," Mrs. Chen corrects. "Love does the fixing." An awkward silence follows. Mrs. Chen disappears into the pantry, leaving Mira alone with Rowan and the weight of unspoken words. The kiss from last night hangs between them like a challenge neither wants to address. "I should show you to your room," he says finally. "You must be exhausted." She is exhausted. Bone deep, soul deep tired from 24 hours that turned her entire life upside down. But she's also wired, aware of every breath he takes, every subtle shift in his posture. Yet another complication she doesn't need. Attraction to a man so far out of her league it's laughable. Attraction that feels more real than anything she ever shared with Marcus. "That would be good," she manages. He leads her up a curved staircase that belongs in a fairy tale. The guest room he shows her is bigger than her old apartment, king-sized bed, sitting area, private bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. "If you need anything, I'm down the hall," he says, lingering in the doorway. "Don't hesitate to ask." "Rowan?" The question escapes before she can stop it. "Why are you being so kind to me?" For a moment, she thinks he might tell her the truth. Something flickers in his dark eyes. Hunger, longing, maybe even love. But then he shudders his expression. "Because you deserve kindness," he says simply. As if the world narrowed to just this moment, she realizes that might be the most beautiful thing anyone has ever said to her.
3 days later, Rowan admits defeat. Having Mira in his house is torture of the sweetest kind. She's everywhere, curled up in his library reading, helping Mrs. Chen in the kitchen, laughing at something on her phone in the sunroom. Her scent permeates every corner, jasmine and rain that makes his wolf pace restlessly. What's worse, she's settling in, making herself at home in a way that suggests she belongs here. Which she does, his wolf insists. She belongs here with them, in their space, in their life. The rational part of his mind knows this arrangement can't last. Eventually, she'll want to go back to her pack or find a new one. Eventually, she'll heal from Marcus's rejection and move on with her life. A life that doesn't include him. The thought makes his chest ache. From there, his control starts cracking. Little things that shouldn't matter become huge. The way she smiles when she sees him. How she unconsciously seeks his company during meals. The careful distance she maintains that suggests she's as affected by their proximity as he is. Still, he tries to maintain professional boundaries. Tries to be the supportive friend she needs rather than the desperate alpha who wants to claim her. That resolve lasts until he finds her crying in the library. She's tucked into the window seat, knees drawn up, tears streaming down her face while she stares at her phone. The sight of her pain hits him like a physical blow. "Mira?" He's across the room before he thinks to move. "What happened?" She looks up with red-rimmed eyes. Marcus is engaged. The words hit him like ice water. "What?" Elena posted it on social media. "They're binding next week." Her laugh sounds broken. 1 week. It took him 1 week to replace me completely. Fury rises in Rowan's chest, swift and violent. The urge to hunt down Marcus Thorne and tear him apart is overwhelming. "I'm sorry." "Don't be, I should have seen this coming." She wipes her eyes with shaking hands. He was probably planning this while I was picking out binding dresses. His loss, Rowan says fiercely. His massive cosmic loss. She looks at him with something like wonder. How do you do that? Do what? Make me feel like I'm worth something. Before either could speak, he's moving again. This time he doesn't stop until he's kneeling in front of her, eye level with her tear-stained face. Because you are worth something, he says, voice rough with conviction. You're worth everything. The space between them burns with tension. Her breath catches as he reaches up to brush a tear from her cheek. The simple contact sends lightning up his arm. Rowan. He's an idiot, he continues, unable to stop the words pouring out. A blind, selfish idiot who threw away the most precious thing he'll ever have. But his stupidity is my gain. What do you mean? As the silence roared between them, he realizes he's about to cross a line he can't uncross. About to admit feelings that will complicate everything. But looking at her, beautiful, wounded, perfect, he can't bring himself to care about consequences. I mean, I'm grateful, he says quietly. Grateful that he was too stupid to see what he had. Grateful that his rejection brought you to me. Her eyes widen. Rowan, I know I shouldn't say this. No, it's too soon, too complicated. But I can't pretend anymore, Mira. I can't pretend that having you here doesn't feel like the most natural thing in the world. Time stood still as the confession hangs between them. Then she's reaching for him, fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. Then don't pretend, she whispers against his lips. Don't pretend anymore. This time when he kisses her, he doesn't pull away.
2 weeks of paradise crumbles in a single phone call. Mira watches Rowan's face change as he listens to whoever's on the other end. His jaw tightens, eyes growing cold in a way that reminds her exactly who he is. Not just the man who kisses her breathless every morning, but the Alpha King who commands entire territories. When? His voice cuts through the morning stillness like a blade. She sets down her coffee, dread pooling in her stomach. These past 2 weeks have been a dream, stolen moments between his meetings, quiet dinners, conversations that stretch into dawn, learning each other in ways that feel both innocent and dangerous. But dreams always end. I'll handle it, Rowan says into the phone, then ends the call with more force than necessary. What's wrong? She asks, though part of her already knows. Marcus filed a formal complaint with the Pack Council. His words come out clipped, controlled. He's claiming I kidnapped his intended mate. The coffee turns to ash in her mouth. His intended mate? He rejected me. Apparently, he's changed his story. Says you two had a lover's quarrel and I took advantage of your emotional state to steal you away. Next, the full implications hit her like a sledgehammer. The Pack Council, formal complaints. This isn't just personal drama anymore. It's political. What does that mean? But she already knows. Can see it in the way Rowan's withdrawn into himself, putting distance between them even while sitting at the same table. It means I have to answer their summons. Means this, he gestures between them, becomes evidence of wrongdoing. Soon after, she realizes the beautiful bubble they've been living in just burst. Reality crashes back with cruel efficiency. She's not just Mira anymore. She's a liability. A weapon Marcus can use against the most powerful alpha in the territory. I'll tell them the truth, she says desperately. I'll explain that he rejected me, that I came to you willingly. Your word against his. Rowan's voice is cold now, distant. And you're not exactly an unbiased witness anymore. The words sting because they're true. How can she claim objectivity when she's been sharing his bed, when she looks at him like he hung the moon? What followed was the worst realization of all. She's fallen completely, hopelessly in love with a man who might now see her as nothing but a problem to solve. What do we do? She whispers. Rowan stands abruptly, pacing to the window like a caged wolf. We prepare for war. Despite that, something in his tone makes her blood run cold, not because he's afraid of Marcus or the council, but because he's already planning how to cut her loose, how to minimize the damage she's caused to his reputation. Rowan, this is my fault. His voice is bitter, self-recriminating. I knew better, knew this could happen. But I was selfish, and now what? You regret it? The question tears out of her throat. He turns from the window, and the pain in his eyes nearly destroys her. I regret putting you in danger. I regret that my feelings for you could cost you everything. Because her feelings for him already have cost her everything. Her pack, her reputation, her future. And the terrifying part is, she doesn't care. Would choose him again in a heartbeat. What if I don't care about the cost? You should. His tone is final, unyielding. You should care very much. As fire bloomed beneath her skin, anger this time, not desire, she realizes he's already made his decision. Already chosen duty over whatever this is between them. So, that's it? She stands, facing him across the kitchen like adversaries instead of lovers. First sign of trouble and you're ready to throw this away? I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need you to fight for me. The silence that follows is deafening. In it, she hears everything he's not saying, that she's not worth the political cost, that what they have isn't strong enough to survive scrutiny, that he'd rather sacrifice their happiness than risk his position. More importantly, she realizes that for all his pretty words about her worth when push comes to shove, she's still not enough. The truth settled in her bones like ice. History repeating itself in the cruelest possible way.
The council meeting is a trap. Rowan knows it the moment he walks into the formal chamber and sees who's assembled. 5 regional alphas, all traditional, all suspicious of his progressive policies. Marcus sits at the far end like he owns the place, smug satisfaction radiating from every pore. Alpha King, Elder Thorne, Marcus's grandfather, and the council's most conservative voice, doesn't bother with warmth. Thank you for answering our summons so quickly. Summons, not request. The insult is deliberate. Of course, though I confess confusion about the nature of these allegations. Marcus leans forward with theatrical concern. Mira Thornfield was taken from our territory without consent during an emotionally vulnerable time. We're simply concerned for her well-being. Taken. Rowan lets the word hang in the air. That's an interesting choice of phrase. How would you describe it? Elder Thorne asks. I would describe it as offering sanctuary to a woman in distress. A woman you then seduced, Marcus adds, and there's the real weapon, while she was grieving our broken engagement. Broken engagement, not brutal rejection, not callous dismissal. Of course, Marcus would reframe history to suit his narrative. Still, Rowan keeps his expression neutral. Miss Thornfield is a guest in my home, nothing more. Really? Another alpha, Jensen from the Eastern Territory, slides a tablet across the table. Because these photos suggest otherwise. The images hit Rowan like a physical blow, him and Mira in the garden, her head on his shoulder. A kiss captured through the library window. Their bodies intertwined as they watched sunset from the back porch. Someone's been watching them, for weeks. Private moments in a private residence, he says carefully. Hardly evidence of wrongdoing. Evidence of impropriety, Elder Thorne corrects. The Alpha King taking advantage of a vulnerable young woman for his own pleasure. Yet the way they say it, like Mira is a helpless victim rather than a strong, intelligent woman capable of making her own choices, makes his wolf snarl with protective fury. Miss Thornfield came to my territory willingly, stays willingly. I've coerced nothing. Because you haven't needed to. Marcus's voice turns poisonous. You're the Alpha King. What pack member would dare refuse you? Even so, Rowan realizes the trap's true nature. They're not just questioning his actions, they're questioning his fitness to lead. painting him as a predator who abuses his position for personal gain. "What exactly are you accusing me of?" he asks quietly. "Conduct unbecoming an Alpha King," Elder Thorne says formally. "Abuse of power, theft of another Alpha's intended mate." Marcus rejected her. The words come out sharper than intended. Publicly, cruelly. He has no claim. "I made a mistake," Marcus says with practiced remorse. "Said things in anger that I didn't mean. Mira and I were working through our issues when you interfered." Lies. Every word is a calculated lie, and they all know it. But lies told skillfully become truth in the right mouths. On the other hand, Rowan understands political maneuvering better than most. This isn't about Mira. It's about them wanting to bring down an Alpha King who threatens their traditional power structures. "And what would you have me do?" he asks. "Return her," Marcus says immediately. "Publicly apologize for your interference, submit to formal censure from this council." In fact, they want him humiliated, want to strip away his authority piece by piece until he's nothing but a figurehead they can control. The space between them burned with unspoken threats as Rowan realizes this is war. Has always been war. Marcus was just clever enough to use Mira as the opening gambit. "I'll consider your requests," he says finally. "You'll do more than consider." Elder Thorne's voice carries clear threat. "Or this council will be forced to take more drastic action." As the meeting dissolves around him, Rowan understands that everything has changed. The game is no longer about protecting Mira from political fallout. It's about protecting them both from enemies who would destroy anything to maintain their stranglehold on power. Which meant the rules just changed completely. And Rowan Blackthorne has never lost a war.
She's waiting when he gets home. Mira sees the truth in Rowan's face before he says a word, grim determination mixed with something that looks like grief. The council meeting didn't go well, probably went exactly as badly as they both feared. "Tell me," she says simply. He strips off his jacket with sharp, angry movements. "They want you back, want me to publicly apologize and submit to censure. And if you don't, they'll challenge my authority, question my fitness to lead, maybe even call for my removal." That's when the full weight of what she's cost him hits her. The Alpha King, the most powerful shifter in 5 territories, brought low because he was foolish enough to care about her. "I'll go back." The words taste like poison. "I'll tell them this was all my idea, that I seduced you." "No." The command in his voice stops her cold. "Absolutely not. Rowan, be reasonable. If my being here threatens your position, then we find another way." He crosses to her, gripping her shoulders with desperate intensity. "I won't let them win. Won't let them take you." For a moment, hope flares in her chest. But then reality crashes back. Because what can they really do? Run away together? Give up everything he's worked for? "What if there is no other way?" she whispers. His hands frame her face, thumbs brushing across her cheekbones. "There's always another way. We just have to be willing to fight for it." That's when she sees it, the exact moment Rowan transforms from the careful politician she's been living with into the dangerous Alpha King who conquered these territories in the first place. His eyes go cold, calculating, predatory. "What are you thinking?" she asks, though part of her isn't sure she wants to know. "I'm thinking Marcus made a mistake when he involved the council. Made this political instead of personal." From there, his voice takes on an edge that makes her shiver. "I'm thinking he forgot that I didn't become Alpha King by playing nice." Without warning, she realizes that the man holding her, the man she's fallen in love with, is capable of terrible things when threatened. The thought should scare her. Instead, it makes her pulse quicken with anticipation. "What's the plan?" she asks. His smile is sharp, dangerous. "We give them exactly what they want, just not the way they expect." Before she could ask what that means, he's kissing her. Hard, possessive, desperate, like he's trying to imprint the taste of her on his soul. When they break apart, both breathing hard, he rests his forehead against hers. "Are you with me? Even if it gets dangerous?" As if fate whispered the answer directly to her heart, she knows there's only one possible response. "Always," she breathes, "whatever it takes." Because she's tired of being a victim of other people's choices, tired of letting fear dictate her life. If Rowan Blackthorne wants to fight for them, then she'll stand beside him and fight too. The tension broke as she realizes that for the first time in her life, she's exactly where she belongs, beside a man who sees her as an equal, not a prize to be won or lost. Together, they'll either claim their happiness or burn the whole system down trying. The plan is insane. Mira stares at the ancient law book Rowan's spread across his desk, trying to process what he's suggesting. You want to invoke the right of challenge against the entire council? Not against the council, against their authority to interfere in mate bonds. His finger traces the archaic text. This law predates the modern Pack Council by 3 centuries. It's never been overturned. Next, she reads the passage he's highlighting, her heart racing with each word. The right of challenge allows any alpha to demand trial by combat when their mate bond is questioned. Winner takes all. The bond is either validated or severed forever. This is medieval, she breathes, which is exactly why it'll work. These old alphas worship tradition. They can't refuse an ancient law without looking like hypocrites. Soon after, the full implications hit her. You're talking about fighting Marcus, to the death. If necessary. His voice is cold, matter of fact, though I'm hoping he's too much of a coward to actually show up. Despite that, she knows Marcus well enough to understand he won't back down. Not when public humiliation is the alternative. His pride won't let him. What if you lose? The question escapes before she can stop it. Rowan looks up from the book, and the absolute certainty in his eyes takes her breath away. I won't. You can't know that. Yes, I can. He stands, moving around the desk to frame her face with his hands. Because I'm not just fighting for my reputation or my position. I'm fighting for you. For us. And I've never lost anything that mattered this much. That's when the magnitude of his commitment hits her. He's willing to risk everything, his life, his crown, his legacy, for the right to call her his mate. What followed was the most terrifying and beautiful realization of her life. She's worth fighting for, worth dying for, at least to him. There's something else, he says quietly. The challenge has to be witnessed by both packs, yours and mine. Marcus rejected me publicly. My pack won't. Your pack will come because they're curious, because they want to see how this ends. His thumb brushes across her cheekbone. And when they do, they'll see what you really are. What am I? Mine. The word comes out like a vow. My mate, my equal, my queen. Not someone to be rejected or discarded, but someone worth starting a war over. In fact, the way he says it, with absolute conviction, makes her believe it too. Makes her stand a little straighter, chin lifting with newfound pride. When? She asks. Tomorrow night. The full moon gives the challenge maximum power under the old laws. By the time she processes what that means, her pulse is racing for entirely different reasons. Tomorrow night, everything changes. Either she becomes Rowan's acknowledged mate, or she loses him forever. Are you scared? He asks softly. Terrified, she admits, but not of the challenge. I'm scared of what happens after. If we win, if the bond is validated, what kind of life can we really have? The council will never accept me as your queen. Then we'll make them accept you, or we'll build something new. His voice hardens with determination. I'm done playing by rules designed to keep us apart. Eventually, she realizes that's what this is really about. Not just their love, but revolution. The chance to reshape their world into something better. What do you need me to do? His smile is fierce, predatory. Be magnificent. Show them exactly why I'd burn the world down for you. As though fate whispered its approval, she feels her own wolf stir, not with fear, but with anticipation. She spent her whole life trying to be small, acceptable, enough. Tomorrow night, she gets to be powerful. The thought should terrify her. Instead, it feels like coming home.
The clearing fills with witnesses as the full moon rises. Rowan stands at the center of the ancient challenge ring, every sense hyper-aware. 24 wolves from Mira's former pack cluster on the eastern side, whispering among themselves. His own pack maintains formation on the west, silent and deadly serious. More importantly, the council elders have arrived in full ceremonial regalia, clearly planning to turn this into a spectacle. They think they're watching his downfall. Instead, they're about to witness his ascension. Alpha King. Elder Thorne's voice carries across the clearing. You invoke an ancient right. Are you prepared for ancient consequences? I am. Rowan's voice doesn't waver. I claim right of challenge for the bond between myself and Mira Thornfield. Let any who would dispute it face me in combat. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. This is the first time the old laws have been invoked in living memory. The air practically hums with anticipation. That's when Marcus steps into the ring. He's dressed for war, leather and steel, ceremonial blades at his sides. He looks confident, prepared, like he's been training for this moment, which he probably has, Rowan realizes. This was always the plan. I dispute the bond, Marcus announces. Mira Thornfield was mine by right of first choosing. Your claim is invalid. Your rejection invalidated any claim you had. Rowan's voice carries to every corner of the clearing. You cannot throw something away, then demand it back when someone else finds value in it. I made a mistake, one I'm here to correct. Still, the lies roll off Marcus's tongue with practiced ease. Looking at him now, smug, entitled, treating Mira like property to be reclaimed, Rowan wonders how he ever thought himself worthy of her. The challenge is accepted, Elder Thorne declares. Combat will determine the truth of the bond, to the death or yield. As the crowd forms a wider circle, Rowan catches sight of Mira at the edge of the clearing. She's pale but composed, hands clenched at her sides. When their eyes meet across the distance, she nods once. Trust, faith, love, all wrapped in that simple gesture. He won't let her down. Without warning, Marcus lunges forward with inhuman speed. The first strike would have taken Rowan's head off if he hadn't been ready for treachery. These aren't honorable rules they're playing by. This is survival. Perfect. He's always been better at survival than politics. Their bodies clash with bone-jarring force. Marcus is strong, fast, well-trained, but he fights like someone who's never truly feared for his life. Rowan fights like someone who's clawed his way to the top of a hierarchy built on violence. More importantly, Marcus is fighting for pride. Rowan is fighting for love. The difference shows in every exchange. Where Marcus seeks to wound, Rowan seeks to end. Where Marcus fights with anger, Rowan fights with purpose. As the battle rages, blood staining the sacred ground, Rowan hears Mira's heartbeat above all other sounds. Steady, strong, unafraid. She believes in him completely. That faith gives him strength he didn't know he possessed. When Marcus stumbles, just for a moment, guard dropping as exhaustion sets in, Rowan strikes with lethal precision. His claws find throat, and suddenly it's over. Marcus hits the ground hard, blood pooling beneath him, dead before he stops moving. The silence that follows is deafening. Then, as if summoned by victory itself, Rowan's wolf pushes forward. The shift takes him in seconds. Bones reshaping, muscles expanding, power flooding every cell. He howls triumph to the moon, and his pack answers. The sound echoes through the forest like thunder, wild and free and absolutely dominant. When he shifts back, human and Alpha King once more, Elder Thorne's face is ashen. The challenge is decided. The bond stands. But Rowan isn't finished. Not even close. "Hear me," he calls out, voice carrying supernatural authority. "This woman is my mate, my queen, my equal in all things. Any who would dispute her place beside me can face the same fate as Marcus Thorne." Her name hung in the air like a benediction, and when Mira steps into the ring, head high and eyes blazing with newfound confidence, Rowan knows they've won more than just validation. They've won the right to remake their world.
Everything changes in the aftermath of blood. Mira walks to the center of the challenge ring where Rowan waits, his chest heaving from exertion, Marcus's blood still staining his hands. She should be horrified by the violence, traumatized by watching someone die for her. Instead, she feels powerful. "Mine," Rowan says as she reaches him, and the possessive satisfaction in his voice makes her pulse quicken. "Yours," she agrees, then adds with newfound strength, "and you're mine." The crowd watches in stunned silence as they embrace in the center of the sacred ring. Some look horrified, others awed, but none dare speak against what they've just witnessed. From there, Elder Thorne approaches with visible reluctance. The ancient laws have been satisfied. The bond is legitimate. "More than legitimate," Mira says, surprising herself with the authority in her voice. "Sacred, blessed by the moon goddess herself. Because that's what this feels like. Divine intervention. Two broken souls finding completion in each other, their connection validated by blood and moonlight." Next, members of her former pack begin approaching. Not with hostility, but with something like wonder. They're seeing her differently now, not as the woman who was rejected, but as the mate worth killing for. "Mira." Her old friend Kira steps forward hesitantly. Are you happy?" The question catches her off guard. Is she happy? She's terrified, exhilarated, transformed beyond recognition. But underneath all that chaos? "Yes," she says simply. "For the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I belong." Kira's smile is genuine, relieved. "Good. You deserve happiness." Soon after, other pack members echo the sentiment. Apologies for doubting her, congratulations on her new position, promises of loyalty to their new Alpha Queen. Alpha Queen. The title feels foreign but right, like clothes tailored specifically for her. "What happens now?" she asks Rowan as the crowd begins to disperse. "Now we go home." His arm tightens around her waist, and we start building the future we want. Yet something in his tone suggests that future won't be simple. The council may have accepted their bond, but acceptance isn't the same as approval. There will be challenges ahead, political battles, attempts to undermine their authority. But for the first time, Mira isn't afraid of the fight. "Together?" she asks. "Together," he confirms. "Partners in everything." As the wind shifted, carrying the scent of victory and new beginnings, she realizes that Marcus's rejection was the best thing that ever happened to her. It led her here, to this moment, to this man who sees her as an equal, rather than a prize. "I love you," she says suddenly, the words bursting out of her like they've been trapped too long. Rowan's smile is blinding. "I love you too, my mate, my queen, my everything." Between them, something cracked, the last of their individual fears giving way to shared strength. They're not just surviving anymore, they're conquering, and this is only the beginning. The tension broke as Mira looks around the clearing one last time, memorizing the place where her old life ended and her new one began. Tomorrow there will be politics and protocol and the 1,000 small battles that come with power. Tonight, there's just love, victory, and the promise of forever. More than enough to build a kingdom on. The assassination attempt comes 3 weeks later. Mira jerks awake to the sound of shattering glass, her wolf instantly alert. Beside her, Rowan is already moving, rolling off the bed, grabbing the knife he keeps in the nightstand. The bedroom window lies in glittering pieces across the hardwood floor. "Stay down," he orders. But she's already shifting, bones cracking as her wolf takes control. What followed was chaos. masked figures pouring through the broken window, silver blades flashing in the moonlight. Not random attackers, assassins, professional ones, judging by their coordinated movements. Silver burns against her fur as a blade catches her shoulder, but the pain only makes her wolf more vicious. She tears into the nearest attacker while Rowan fights two others with lethal efficiency. But there are too many. For every one they drop, another appears. Someone planned this carefully, knew their security routines, their sleeping patterns, the exact moment they'd be most vulnerable. "The Council," Rowan snarls as he breaks an attacker's neck. "Has to be." That's when the real betrayal hits. Connor, Rowan's beta, his most trusted advisor, steps through the shattered window with silver shackles in his hands. "I'm sorry, Alpha, but you've left us no choice." The shock of it nearly gets Mira killed. Connor, who ate dinner at their table, who helped plan their wedding, who swore loyalty with his own blood, standing with their enemies. "You son of a bitch!" Rowan's voice carries such rage that the remaining attackers actually flinch. "The pack needs stable leadership," Connor says with false regret. "Not an alpha who throws away centuries of tradition for a piece of tail." Next, Mira sees red. Literally. Fury so complete it turns the world crimson. She launches herself at Connor with a snarl that would make nightmares weep, but the silver shackles find their mark, burning through her fur to the skin beneath. Pain explodes through her body as the metal touches her. Not just physical agony, but something deeper. The silver disrupts her connection to Rowan, makes the mate bond feel distant and cold. Soon after, she's crashing to the floor in human form, naked and bleeding and helpless. "Mira!" Rowan's roar shakes the house as he fights desperately to reach her, but more attackers pour through the windows, too many even for an Alpha King. Despite that, he doesn't yield. Even with silver chains wrapping around his wrists, even as Connor's allies overwhelm him through sheer numbers, Rowan keeps fighting, keeps trying to get to her. "Stop," Connor commands, "or she dies right here." That's what finally breaks him. The threat to her life where his own safety couldn't. Rowan goes still, chest heaving, eyes promising murder. "Good," Connor says with satisfaction. "Take them both. The council wants to question them before the execution." Execution. The word hits Mira like ice water as rough hands drag her to her feet. This isn't just a coup, it's a death sentence. The last thing she sees before they force a hood over her head is Rowan's face, twisted with grief and rage. In his eyes, she reads a promise that terrifies her more than anything else that's happened tonight. He'll burn the world down to save her, and in the process, destroy himself.
The dungeon beneath council headquarters reeks of old blood and broken dreams. Rowan tests the silver chains binding his wrists for the 100th time, ignoring the way they burn his skin. Across the narrow cell, Mira shivers in the thin prisoner's garb they've given her. She's been unconscious for hours, blood loss and silver poisoning taking their toll. She needs medical attention. He calls out to the guards he knows are listening. Silence. They've been here 2 days without food, water, or basic care. The message is clear. Cooperate or watch her die slowly. From there, his control starts cracking. The wolf inside him paces frantically, demanding action. Demanding he break these chains and tear apart everyone responsible for hurting his mate. "Rowan?" Mira's voice is weak but alert. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine." The lie tastes bitter. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck full of silver." She tries to sit up, winces, settles for leaning against the stone wall. "How long have we been here?" 2 days. The council's building their case. Yet something in her expression suggests she's thinking deeper than immediate survival. Always too smart for her own good. "This was planned," she says quietly. "The timing, Connor's betrayal, the silver weapons, they've been preparing for months." "I know. The admission tastes like failure. I trusted the wrong people. We both did." Her voice carries no accusation, only shared pain. "What happens now?" Before either could speculate further, footsteps echo in the corridor. Elder Thorne appears flanked by guards, his face set in grim satisfaction. Alpha King, though I suppose that title won't apply much longer. What do you want, old man? Your abdication, signed and witnessed. Thorne produces a scroll from his robes. In exchange, your mate's life will be spared. The offer hits exactly as intended, a perfect trap disguised as mercy. Sign away everything he's built, and Mira lives. Refuse, and they both die. She goes free? Rowan asks carefully. Completely free? She'll be exiled from all Pact territories, but alive. In that moment, Rowan realizes this was always the plan. Use Mira as leverage to remove him bloodlessly. Let him destroy himself trying to save her. And if I refuse? Thorne's smile is cold. Then tomorrow's execution will include 2 pyres instead of 1. As the weight of impossible choices settled on his shoulders, Rowan looks at Mira. She's watching him with those storm-gray eyes, and he can see her thoughts as clearly as if she'd spoken them. Don't do it. Don't sacrifice everything for me. But she's wrong. She isn't just his mate. She's his heart, his soul, his reason for existing. Without her, being Alpha King means nothing. I need time to consider. You have until sunset, Thorne interrupts. Choose wisely. As the elder's footsteps fade, silence stretches between them. Finally, Mira speaks. Promise me you won't sign it. Mira, promise me. Her voice carries desperate intensity. I won't be the reason you lose everything. That's when he realizes they're at the heart of it, the fundamental difference in how they see their situation. She thinks she's his weakness. He knows she's his strength. I already lost everything once, he says quietly. When Celeste died, I won't survive losing you too. You will, because you're stronger than you know. But she's wrong about that too. He's not stronger, he's just more selfish. Willing to trade crown and kingdom for one more day with the woman he loves. The choice is already made. Has been made since the moment he first touched her hand in that moonlit forest. He'll sign their paper and damn the consequences.
The execution platform rises like a monument to despair. Mira stands in shackles at its base, watching workers stack kindling around 2 tall posts. Her post and Rowan's post, because he didn't sign the abdication. Refused to save himself even when she begged him to. Stubborn, noble, self-sacrificing fool. Having second thoughts? Connor approaches with false sympathy. It's not too late to convince him. 1 word from you, and the Alpha King walks away from all this. Go to hell. The words come out hoarse, her throat raw from screaming when they tortured Rowan in front of her yesterday. Their final attempt to break his resolve. It didn't work. Nothing would work, because Rowan Blackthorne doesn't abandon the people he loves, even when loving them gets him killed. Next, the crowd begins gathering. Hundreds of pack members from across the territory, drawn by morbid curiosity to witness the fall of their Alpha King. She recognizes faces, some hostile, others confused, a few openly grieving. Quite a turnout, Connor observes. Amazing how quickly people abandon a fallen leader. But that's where he's wrong. The crowd isn't here for entertainment, it's here because they love Rowan. Because they can't believe this is really happening. That gives her an idea. A desperate, probably suicidal idea. Soon after, she spots familiar faces in the crowd. Pack members she's come to know over the past months. Warriors who've sworn personal loyalty to Rowan. Alphas from allied territories who owe him debts of honor. You made a mistake, she tells Connor quietly. Did I? You assumed they'd all just accept this, that removing Rowan would be simple. From there, she can see doubt flickering in his eyes. He's beginning to realize that staging a public execution might have been strategically stupid, that watching their beloved Alpha King burn alive could turn the crowd into a mob. It doesn't matter, he says, but uncertainty bleeds into his voice. It's too late to stop now. Is it? Despite that, she's already planning. The shackles are silver, but they're old, tarnished, and potentially weak at the joints. If she can shift partially, just enough to break free. The condemned will now be brought forward. Elder Thorne's voice booms across the platform. Guards drag Rowan up the wooden steps, and the sight of him breaks her heart all over again. Beaten, bloody, but unbroken. His eyes find hers across the platform, and in them she sees absolute love. No regret, no fear, just love and the promise that he'd choose her again, even knowing how it ends. That's when everything crystallizes. They're going to die here, on this platform, because good people stayed silent while evil ones seized power. Because tradition mattered more than truth. Because love wasn't enough to overcome politics. But maybe, just maybe, their deaths could accomplish what their lives couldn't. Without warning, Mira throws back her head and howls. Not a cry of despair, but a war song. A rallying cry that echoes across the gathered crowd like thunder. Other voices join hers. First one, then 10, then dozens. Pack members who remember what loyalty means. Warriors who've served under Rowan's banner. Allies who won't stand by and watch him burn. The sound builds until it drowns out Elder Thorne's attempted speech. Until the very air vibrates with challenge and defiance. That's when Mira realizes that sometimes dying for something is the only way to make it live forever. And if that's what it takes to expose the Council's corruption, to show the Packs what real strength looks like, then she'll burn beside Rowan Blackthorne with pride. Her voice trembled with the force of her howl, and when she looks at him across the platform, his smile tells her he understands. They're not victims anymore. They're martyrs. And martyrs have a way of inspiring revolutions. The revolution starts with a single arrow. It whistles through the air and buries itself in Elder Thorne's shoulder, spinning him around with the force of impact. The crowd erupts, some screaming in terror, others roaring approval. Chaos blooms like wildfire across the execution ground. Now! Someone shouts from the forest edge. That's when Mira sees them, wolves pouring from the tree line like a living tide. Dozens of them, moving with military precision. Not rogues or random rebels, but organized resistance. Rowan's most loyal pack members, the ones who disappeared after the coup. They didn't abandon him. They've been planning a rescue. Next, silver shackles become the least of her problems as guards swarm the platform. One raises a blade toward her throat, but Connor barks an order. Keep them alive! They're our only leverage. Wrong move. Because the moment he admits they need prisoners, he reveals weakness. Shows the crowd that the new regime isn't as secure as they pretended. Soon after, the platform shudders under the weight of shifting wolves. Pack members in the crowd begin transforming. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to turn spectators into participants. This is madness! Elder Thorne clutches his wounded shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. You're destroying everything! But Mira realizes this isn't destruction. It's birth. The birth of something new, something better than the corrupt system they're tearing down. A massive black wolf leaps onto the platform, and she recognizes the scent even before he shifts back. Marcus's brother, Derek, one of the few decent members of that family. Alpha Queen, he says formally, producing a key from his pocket. Your people need you. The shackles fall away like shed skin. Power floods back through her body. Not just her wolf, but something deeper. Something that feels like destiny finally catching up. Where's Rowan? She demands. Fighting his way to you. Derek hands her a blade, silver-edged, perfect for cutting through enemies who think they're untouchable. The pack is scattered but regrouping. We need rally points. Despite that, she can already see the battle turning. What started as an execution is becoming a rout as more and more pack members remember where their true loyalty lies. Tell them to fall back to the forest, she orders, surprised by the authority in her own voice. Regroup at the old training grounds. We end this properly. Derek nods and disappears back into the melee. Around her, the platform becomes a war zone. Silver against Claw, politics against primal truth. That's when she spots Connor trying to escape through the crowd, and something cold settles in her chest. He orchestrated this betrayal. Sold out his alpha for power. Tried to kill the man she loves. Time to collect payment on that debt. From there, she moves like her wolf, silent, deadly, focused. Connor doesn't see her coming until her blade finds his ribs, sliding between them with surgical precision. "For Rowan," she whispers as he falls. Connor's eyes widen with shock, then dim to nothing. One traitor down. How many more to go? Without warning, strong arms wrap around her from behind. She spins, ready to fight, then melts with relief. Rowan. Alive. Bloody. Beautiful. The sight of him whole and moving sends such joy through her chest she can barely breathe. "Are you hurt?" His hands run over her body, checking for injuries with desperate intensity. "I'm fine. I'm perfect." She cups his face, thumb brushing across a cut on his cheekbone. "We're both perfect." Between them, something cracked. Not breaking this time, but settling into place. Like puzzle pieces finally finding their proper positions. "We need to go," he says reluctantly, "while we still can." As if fate demanded one final test, Elder Thorn appears behind them with a crossbow aimed at Mira's heart. His face is twisted with hatred, self-righteous fury. "You've destroyed everything," he snarls. "Everything we built. Everything you corrupted," Rowan corrects, stepping protectively in front of her. "Stand aside, boy. This ends now." But before Thorn can pull the trigger, a massive gray wolf hits him from the side. They go down in a tangle of claws and screams, rolling off the platform into the crowd below. When the dust settles, the wolf shifts back into an elderly woman Mira doesn't recognize. Silver-haired, dignified, with eyes that hold centuries of wisdom. "Luna Mackenzie," Rowan breathes. "I thought you were dead." Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. The old woman wipes blood from her claws with casual efficiency, though the same cannot be said for Elder Thorn. Eventually, Mira understands. Luna Mackenzie, the legendary Alpha who ruled these territories before Rowan. Missing for years, presumed dead, but apparently very much alive and unimpressed with how her successors have been handling things. "Your Majesty," Mira says formally, "we're honored." "Child, I am no one's majesty anymore, but I am very much interested in ensuring the right wolves hold power." Her ancient eyes study them both with sharp intelligence. "You two will do nicely." The space between them burned with possibility, as Mira realizes this isn't just rescue. It's validation. Endorsement from the most respected Alpha in living memory. They're not just surviving anymore, they're winning.
The old training grounds become a war council by moonlight. Rowan stands before the assembled pack leaders, some loyal from the beginning, others converts won over by the day's events. Nearly 200 wolves in total, representing half the territory's fighting strength. "The council's authority is broken," he announces. "But authority means nothing without legitimacy. We need to rebuild, not just destroy." Murmurs of agreement ripple through the crowd. These aren't revolutionaries by nature. They're people who want stable leadership and fair governance. Give them that, and they'll follow anywhere. "What about the other territories?" asks Alpha Jensen, one of the newer converts. "They won't all accept what happened here." "Then we'll convince them." Mira steps forward, and the easy confidence in her voice makes Rowan's chest swell with pride. "One pack at a time, one leader at a time. Show them there's a better way." Still, practical concerns remain. Food, shelter, organization. The logistics of governing a territory in the middle of a power transition. "We'll need new laws," Luna Mackenzie observes from her place of honor. "The old system was corrupt, but it was still a system. You can't rule on goodwill and good intentions alone." Agreed. Rowan had been thinking about this during their captivity. A new council, representatives elected by their packs, not appointed by tradition. Term limits, accountability. And the Alpha King? Another voice calls out. What happens to that position? The question hangs in the air like a challenge. Rowan knows what they're really asking. Will he become another tyrant using this crisis to consolidate power? The Alpha King serves at the pleasure of the packs, he says finally. If they lose confidence in his leadership, they can choose someone else. Yet another voice speaks up. Derek, Marcus's brother. And the Alpha Queen. What's her role in this new system? All eyes turn to Mira, and Rowan sees her straighten under the attention. She's come so far from the broken woman who fled into his forest. Now she stands like she was born to rule. Equal partner, she says simply, in everything. Even combat decisions? The question comes from a grizzled old warrior who's clearly testing her resolve. Mira's smile is sharp. Especially combat decisions. I've got some experience with those now. Laughter ripples through the crowd, not mocking but appreciative. They saw her fight today, saw her kill Connor with her own hands. She's earned their respect in blood. From there, the discussion turns to immediate concerns. Territory boundaries, trade agreements, dealing with packs that might resist the new order. Practical matters that will determine whether their revolution becomes lasting change or just another failed coup. Eventually, as the night wears on, Rowan realizes something profound has shifted, not just in their political situation, but in how people see Mira. She's not his mate who happens to be smart. She's a leader in her own right, someone they turn to for answers, not just support. There's one more thing, Luna Mackenzie says, as the gathering begins to wind down. A coronation, official recognition of the new order. Is that necessary? Mira asks. Child, perception is reality in politics. People need symbols, ceremonies, moments of transition they can point to and say, this is when everything changed. That's when Rowan understands what the old Alpha is really suggesting. Not just a coronation, but a wedding. Public vows that bind them not just as mates, but as co-rulers. The blood moon rises again in 3 days, he says slowly. Symbolically appropriate. Perfect timing. Mackenzie's eyes gleam with satisfaction. 3 days to spread the word, gather witnesses, prepare the ceremony. By the next full moon, you'll be officially crowned as the new Alpha King and Queen. As the crowd disperses to begin preparations, Rowan finds himself alone with Mira under the stars. She's quiet, thoughtful, processing everything that's happened. Regrets? He asks softly. About which part? The revolution, the bloodshed, or agreeing to marry you in front of half the territory? Any of it. All of it. She considers this seriously, which is one of the things he loves about her. She doesn't give easy answers or false reassurances. No regrets, she says finally. But I'm terrified. Of what? Of not being good enough. Of letting people down. Of discovering that courage is easier than competence. Before the words left his lips, he's pulling her into his arms. You're going to be magnificent. You already are magnificent. How can you be so sure? Because I've watched you transform from someone who thought she wasn't worth loving into someone willing to die for her people. Because you see solutions where others see problems. Because when faced with impossible choices, you choose love every time. As though fate whispered its approval directly to his heart, he knows they're going to succeed. Not just survive, but thrive. Build something better than what came before. 3 days, Mira murmurs against his chest. 3 days, he agrees. And then they'll claim their crown, their kingdom, and their future. Together.
The wedding dress is armor disguised as silk. Mira studies her reflection in the mirror of the makeshift dressing room, hardly recognizing the woman staring back. 3 days ago, she was a prisoner facing execution. Now she's about to be crowned Alpha Queen in front of the largest gathering of pack leaders in living memory. You look beautiful, Kira says from behind her, adjusting the intricate beadwork that spirals across the bodice. Like you were born for this. Was I? The question escapes before she can stop it. Or am I just someone who got lucky? Does it matter? Another voice joins them, Luna Mackenzie, resplendent in ceremonial robes that mark her as the officiating elder. Birth, luck, destiny, they're all just different words for the same thing. You're here, you're ready, and your people need you. Next, the magnitude of what's about to happen hits her fully. In less than an hour, she'll be making vows that bind her not just to Rowan, but to every wolf in their territory. Promising to lead, protect, and serve people who were strangers a few months ago. What if I make the wrong decisions? She asks. What if people get hurt because I'm not smart enough or strong enough or... Child. Mackenzie's voice cuts through her spiral with gentle firmness. Do you know what makes a good leader? Wisdom, strength, experience, caring more about your people's welfare than your own comfort. Everything else can be learned. Soon after, she realizes the old Alpha is right. She spent months agonizing over whether she deserves this position, when the real question is whether she's willing to sacrifice for it. And she is, completely, without reservation. It's time, Kira announces, checking the window. The ceremony's about to begin. Despite that, Mira takes one last moment to center herself, to remember the woman who fled into the forest 6 months ago, broken, rejected, convinced she wasn't worth loving. That woman is gone now, transformed into someone who can stand before hundreds of alphas and claim her place as their equal. Ready? Mackenzie asks. Ready? Mira confirms, and means it. The walk to the ceremonial circle feels like crossing between worlds. Behind her lies everything she used to be, small, afraid, willing to accept scraps of affection. Ahead waits everything she's choosing to become, powerful, purposeful, loved and loving without limitation. From there, the crowd comes into view, and her breath catches. Hundreds of pack members arranged in concentric circles around the ancient stone altar. Representatives from dozens of territories, many who traveled days just to witness this moment. At the center of it all stands Rowan, magnificent in formal black leather and silver, watching her approach with such love and pride that her chest aches with the beauty of it. You're gorgeous, he murmurs as she reaches his side. So are you. The words come out breathless, overwhelmed. Are we really doing this? Unless you've changed your mind about wanting to spend forever with me. Never. The conviction in her voice surprises them both. Never changing my mind about that. That's when Mackenzie steps forward, raising her voice to carry across the assembled crowd. We gather tonight under the blood moon to witness the joining of 2 souls, the crowning of 2 leaders, the beginning of a new age. Yet what follows isn't just a wedding ceremony, but a declaration of war against everything old and corrupt. Each vow they speak becomes a promise to their people. Each ritual completed marks another step away from the past and toward something better. Do you, Rowan Blackthorne, take this woman as your mate, your partner, your equal in all things? I do. His voice carries absolute certainty. Today, tomorrow, forever. Do you, Mira Thornfield, take this man as your mate, your partner, your equal in all things? The moment hangs suspended like a held breath. Everything balanced on her answer, not just their personal happiness, but the future of everyone watching. I do, she says, and feels the world shift around them. In this life and whatever comes after. Without warning, power floods through her. Not just from the bond with Rowan, but from the pack itself. Their acceptance, their trust, their willingness to follow where she leads. It's overwhelming and humbling and absolutely right. By the authority of pack law and the blessing of the moon goddess, Mackenzie declares, I pronounce you mated, crowned, and consecrated. Rise, Alpha King and Queen. The roar that follows shakes the very ground beneath their feet. Hundreds of voices raised in celebration, approval, triumph, the sound of a new world being born. When Rowan kisses her, deep, claiming, full of promise, Mira tastes their future on his lips. Challenges ahead, certainly. Difficult decisions and hard-won victories. But also love, partnership, and the knowledge that they'll face everything together. As fire bloomed beneath her skin and the mark on her shoulder burned with completed magic, she realizes that Marcus was wrong about one thing. She was always enough. She just needed to find the right person to be enough for. The space between them burned with shared purpose as they turned to face their people, not as supplicants seeking approval, but as leaders ready to serve. Their reign begins tonight. Their legacy starts now, and it's going to be magnificent. The real challenge comes 6 months later. Mira stands in the council chambers, rebuilt now with windows and openness replacing the dark, secretive halls of the old regime, facing their greatest test yet. Not assassination attempts or political coups, but something far more dangerous: genuine diplomacy. The Southern Confederation refuses to recognize your authority, Alpha Castellanos states bluntly. They consider your reign illegitimate, your methods barbaric. What followed was exactly what she'd been preparing for since the coronation. Other territories pushing back, testing their resolve, trying to undermine their influence through political pressure rather than direct confrontation. And what would legitimize our authority in their eyes? Rowan asks from beside her, voice carefully neutral. Traditional succession, marriage into an established bloodline, abdication in favor of someone they consider more appropriate. Next, the real trap reveals itself. The Southern Confederation isn't just challenging their rule. They're offering an alternative, a return to the old ways, the old corruption, in exchange for recognition and trade agreements. Who do they suggest as more appropriate? Mira keeps her voice steady despite the fury building in her chest. Alpha Morrison's son, pure bloodline, traditional values, malleable enough to work with. Soon after, she understands. This isn't about legitimacy, it's about control. The Southern Confederation wants a puppet ruler they can manipulate, not independent leaders who might actually serve their people's interests. Declined, she says simply. You haven't heard their offer? I don't need to. Despite that, she stands, and the authority in her posture makes even the experienced diplomats step back slightly. We didn't fight a revolution just to hand power back to the same corrupt system wearing different faces. Then you're choosing war. Castellanos' voice carries clear threat. Economic sanctions, military pressure, isolation from the broader werewolf community. From there, the moment crystallizes into perfect clarity. This is the real climax. Not a physical battle, but the choice between compromise and conviction, between safety and integrity. If that's what standing for our principles costs, Rowan says quietly, then yes, we choose war. That's when everything she's learned over these months comes together. The speeches, the negotiations, the careful balance between strength and diplomacy. All building to this moment where she has to prove she's not just Rowan's mate, but a leader in her own right. You're making a mistake, Castellanos warns. The old ways worked for centuries. The old ways were built on oppression, Mira interrupts, her wolf pressing forward with absolute conviction. On keeping people powerless while a few families hoarded influence. We've seen what real leadership looks like, and we won't go back. Yet the most beautiful part is that she means every word. 6 months ago, she might have wavered, looked for compromise, tried to please everyone. Now she knows that some principles are worth fighting for, regardless of cost. So be it. Castellanos gathers his papers with sharp, angry movements. When your territory burns and your people suffer, remember that you chose this path. When our people prosper and our children grow up free, Mira counters, we'll remember that we chose this path too. As the delegation storms out, silence settles over the chamber. Then, slowly, applause begins, first from their own council members, then spreading to the observers in the gallery. Not polite political clapping, but genuine appreciation for leaders who put principle before popularity. Well, Rowan murmurs beside her, that could have gone better. Could have gone worse, too. She takes his hand, fingers intertwining with easy familiarity. At least now we know where everyone stands. Before either could say more, a commotion erupts in the gallery. Shouting, urgent voices, someone calling for immediate attention. Luna Mackenzie appears in the doorway, her ancient face grave with news. Your Majesties, we have visitors, a delegation from the Northern Territories. The Northern Territories, traditional enemies isolated and hostile for generations. If they're here, it means something momentous is happening. What do they want? Rowan asks. Mackenzie's smile is sharp, predatory. To formally recognize your authority. Seems word has spread about how you handled the Southern Confederation. They're impressed. In that moment, Mira realizes that their refusal to compromise just won them something more valuable than any trade agreement: respect. The kind of respect that comes from standing firm when it would be easier to bend. Show them in, she says, and her voice carries the quiet confidence of someone who's finally learned her own worth. The real battle was never against external enemies. It was against the voice in her head that said she wasn't strong enough, smart enough, worthy enough to lead. That voice is finally, completely silent.
2 hours later, the Northern delegation is gone, not just with recognition but with a formal alliance. Rowan watches from the council chamber windows as their motorcade disappears into the distance, still processing how completely the day's momentum shifted. What started as political pressure became diplomatic triumph. You realize what this means? Mira asks from beside him, studying the alliance documents with careful attention. That we're officially legitimate in the eyes of 3 major territories. That we're officially threats to everyone else. She sets down the papers, expression thoughtful. Success makes enemies faster than failure ever could. Yet somehow, the prospect of increased opposition doesn't worry him the way it would have 6 months ago. They've survived betrayal, assassination attempts, public execution, and political coups. Whatever comes next, they'll handle it together. Regrets? He asks, echoing the question from their first night in the safe house. About which part? The revolution, the crown, or the target we just painted on our backs? Any of it. All of it. She considers this with the same seriousness she always brings to difficult questions. One of the things he loves about her, she doesn't give easy answers when complex ones are needed. No regrets, she says finally. But I understand now why most people choose comfortable lies over difficult truths. Is that what we're doing? Choosing difficult truths? We're choosing to believe that people deserve better than they've been given. That power should serve the powerless instead of protecting the powerful. That love is worth fighting for even when fighting is dangerous. From there, she turns from the window to face him fully, and the light in her eyes makes his chest ache with pride and love and desperate gratitude that she's his. Still think you chose the right mate? She asks with a teasing smile. I think I chose the only mate. The words come out rougher than intended, heavy with emotion. The only woman brave enough to stand beside me, strong enough to challenge me, perfect enough to complete me. Flatterer. But her cheeks flush with pleasure. What happens now? Eventually, he realizes that's the question they'll be answering for the rest of their lives. Not just politically, but personally. How do they balance ruling with loving? How do they protect their relationship while serving their people? How do they build something lasting in a world that seems determined to tear down anything new? Now we go home, he says simply. Have dinner with Mrs. Chen, read by the fire, pretend we're normal people for a few hours. Are we still normal people? We're still us, just with bigger responsibilities and better security. The laughter that escapes her is pure joy, and the sound of it makes everything, the stress, the danger, the impossible weight of leadership, worth it. I love you, she says suddenly, like the words can't be contained any longer. I love you too. He pulls her into his arms, savoring the solid reality of her presence. Today, tomorrow, always. As they hold each other in the fading afternoon light, Rowan allows himself a moment of pure contentment. They've claimed their crown, built their alliance, proven their worth to themselves and their people. More importantly, they've learned that love doesn't make you weak. It makes you willing to be strong for someone else. And that might be the most revolutionary idea of all.
1 year later, the anniversary celebration fills the Great Hall with laughter and music. Mira moves through the crowd of pack members, not subjects anymore, but family, watching Rowan charm a group of visiting dignitaries while somehow keeping track of every conversation happening around him. Still magnificent, still dangerous, but relaxed in a way he never was during those early, desperate months. Quite a party, Luna Mackenzie observes, appearing beside her with 2 glasses of wine. Hard to believe this all started with a rejected mating ceremony. Sometimes I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me. The admission surprises them both. Marcus rejecting me, I mean. If he hadn't, I never would have run into that forest, never would have met Rowan. Funny how the worst moments of our lives sometimes lead to the best ones. Next, Mira spots familiar faces throughout the crowd. Pack members who've thrived under their leadership, former enemies who've become allies, children who've grown up knowing freedom instead of fear. Do you think we've made a difference? She asks. Child, look around you. Mackenzie gestures toward the celebration. 6 territories in formal alliance, trade agreements that benefit everyone instead of just the powerful, laws that protect the weak instead of enabling the strong. Of course, you've made a difference. Soon after, she realizes the old Alpha is right. Change doesn't always announce itself with grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as children playing without fear, parents working without oppression, leaders serving instead of ruling. Your Majesty? A young woman approaches hesitantly, Lily, one of the new council representatives. There's someone here to see you, says it's personal. Despite that, Mira can't imagine who would request a private audience during their anniversary celebration. She follows Lily toward the private chambers, mind racing through possibilities. The answer stops her cold. Marcus's sister, Elena, the woman he claimed as his true mate, the one he rejected Mira for, stands in the small receiving room looking nervous and hopeful and desperate. Hello, Mira, she says quietly. Thank you for seeing me. Elena. The name tastes strange after so much time. What are you doing here? I wanted to apologize. For my part in everything. For not speaking up when Marcus lied about you. For letting you take the blame for his failures. That's when Mira sees it. The bruises carefully concealed with makeup. The way Elena holds herself like someone expecting a blow. The truth hits her like ice water. He hurt you. Not at first. At first, he was charming, attentive, everything I thought I wanted. Elena's voice cracks slightly. But after you left, after he realized what he'd lost, he became angry, then cruel, then violent. From there, the full picture emerges. Marcus had convinced himself that Mira was the problem, that losing her somehow diminished him. When Elena couldn't fill the void, he'd blamed her too. Where is he now? Mira asks carefully. Dead. The word comes out flat, emotionless. Challenged the wrong Alpha last month. Thought his political connections would protect him. Yet somehow, Elena's pain feels more real than any satisfaction Mira might take from Marcus's fate. This broken woman standing before her, asking forgiveness for crimes that were never really hers. You don't need my forgiveness, Mira says gently. You were as much his victim as I was. But I let you suffer. You survived. That's what matters. She reaches out, taking Elena's hands in hers. What do you need? Money? Protection? A place to start over? I wanted to see that you were happy. That something good came from all that pain. Eventually, Mira understands that this is closure. Not just for Elena, but for herself. Proof that the scared, desperate woman who fled into the forest that night really is gone, replaced by someone strong enough to offer grace to her former rival. "I'm very happy," she says simply, "happier than I ever imagined possible." Elena's smile is genuine, relieved. "Good. You deserve happiness." As she escorts Elena back to the celebration, Mira realizes that forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past. It's about refusing to let the past define the future. When she finds Rowan again, he takes one look at her face and immediately moves to her side. "Everything all right?" "Perfect," she says, and means it completely. Everything is absolutely perfect. Because it is. Not because their lives are without challenge or conflict, but because they face everything together. Not because they've achieved some impossible ideal, but because they've learned that love, real love, grows stronger under pressure instead of breaking. As if the world narrowed to just this moment, she looks around the Great Hall one more time, at their people celebrating freely, their allies toasting their success, their future stretching bright and unlimited before them. "Dance with me?" Rowan asks, extending his hand. "Always," she replies, and lets him lead her onto the floor. The music swells around them, joyful, triumphant, full of promise. Other couples join them, but Mira only has eyes for the man spinning her in perfect circles, his smile brighter than any crown. "Any regrets?" he asks as they move together with practiced ease. "Just one," she admits. His expression grows concerned. "What?" "That it took Marcus rejecting me to find you. I wish I could have saved us both some pain. But then we wouldn't be who we are now, wouldn't appreciate what we have." Her heart skipped as she realizes he's right. Every painful step led them here. To this moment, this love, this life they've built together. "In that case," she says, "no regrets at all." The space between them burned with shared joy as they dance under the light of crystal chandeliers, surrounded by the pack that chose them, the people who trust them, the future they've claimed together. It's not the life she planned when she put on that binding dress so long ago. It's infinitely better. Under the glow of candlelight and the warmth of celebration, Mira and Rowan dance as equals, no longer the broken woman and distant alpha who met in moonlit forest, but partners who've learned that true strength comes from choosing love even when love chooses to be difficult. Their story began with rejection and will continue with acceptance, not just of each other, but of the responsibility that comes with power used in service of others. In the end, the greatest revolution wasn't political, it was personal. Two people learning they were worthy of love, respect, and the courage to claim their own happiness. The music plays on, and so does their story, not perfect, but perfectly theirs.